When we booted up our Xbox 360s and PS3s and woke up in Doc Mitchell's home for the first time, we were amazed by the world of New Vegas. The doctor's terrible bedside manner, Chet's cute overalls, wondering where Easy Pete got his name, the fucking slut. And of course, Sonny Smiles, who gives us our first gun. Sorry Doc Mitchell, you don't count. I don't accept Obsidian's sexy doctor fan service. Our first gun being the Varmint Rifle, which feels like the Fallout 3 BB gun, but with some extra, not like BB gun on steroids, but more like BB gun with a bottle of Tylenol PM. So with Time to Kill, I asked the dubious question of, can you beat Fallout 3 with only a Varmint Rifle? Making use of the Tale of Two Wastelands mod, we can travel between Fallout games. Starting in Good Springs, we awake to Mitch's loving voice. I'm going to display my stats, but something happens later on that caused me to reset them, so do they actually matter? No, not really. I chose my tag skills, self-diagnosed some traits, raided Doc Mitchell's home, bought a mod from Chet, and ran off to get my Varmint Rifle. The first of my victims would be the 3 bottles outside the saloon. Those bastards were a tough fight for sure, but I saw it through. After this epic battle, I used console commands to find myself outside of Vault 101, officially starting my playthrough. I took my happy ass over to Silver's home and relinquished her of some caps, just a small loan that I would pay back later, and bartered with Lucky Harris to get some more ammo. Something worth noting is that the ammo type of the Varmint Rifle in vanilla is 5.56mm, whereas in Tale of Two Wastelands it is 22 LR. I told John Marston I'd defuse the bomb in the middle of town, harassed the local drug addict, and proceeded to defuse the bomb. John Marston approved. Stole Druggy's chem stash and met Lucy West and started blood ties. Then while I was borrowing supplies from a local doctor, a Burke started harassing me, going on about how I wasted weeks of his times and how I was gonna pay. Look, I played New Vegas Bounties too. Bobby Bass taught me well. You end the bloodline, and that's what I did. I began to make my way to Arrowview to deliver a letter for Lucy. I tested my suppressive Varmint Rifle on the locals inhabiting the highway, and full evaluation on the Varmint Rifle in Fallout 3 is, the gun is bitchin'. I love it. At Arrowview we met Evan King, who seems to be the de facto mayor and protector. He asked me to visit the town folks and make sure they're fine. Most everyone is, except for Lucy's parents and her missing brother. Mr. King tells us about the family, a group of LARPing freaks who believe they're vampires but are actually just cannibals. Regardless of what they are though, they've been harassing the town. He commissions us to go into a metro station and try to find Lucy's brother. After a bit of classic dungeon delving, we do meet with the leader of the family, Vance. Vance sucks, no pun intended. I tell him to stick it and go talk to Ian West. He tells me about how at a young age he discovered he was a cannibal after protecting his sister from a wastelander who accosted them. His sister was fully aware what he is, but asked he keep it a secret. But the family was his escape to be accepted as a cannibal. I have mixed feelings about Ian. On one hand, the dude wants to be accepted, and I can feel for that. On the other hand, though, he cannibalized his parents. Like, Jesus, dude. At the end of it, I convinced Ian to go home and made a deal with Vance. Arrowview will donate them blood packs in exchange for protection. All is well. You know, except for Lucy having to discover her brother cannibalized her parents. But, you know, everyone's families has their downsides, I suppose. After Arrowview, I ended up doing the Operation Anchorage DLC. This is the one where you team up with the Brotherhood of Outcast and play Army Man Simulator. Because it's a simulation, I spawned in a fully decked out Varmint Rifle and ammo. I snuck up the mountains and took out the Chinese soldiers as well as I could, attempting to go for headshots just to feel more immersed with the Black Ops-like experience. This DLC isn't particularly spectacular, so I'm just gonna run a quick recap. Kill Chinese soldiers en masse, make their base go boom, got promoted, took after Caboose and began friendly firing as a means of gaining experience, convinced the enemy to kill themselves, and ended the simulation. Then there was some infighting within the Brotherhood, so I stole everything in the vault and made like a tree. Now on to Rivet City. After speaking with Menace and Lee, I made for the Jefferson Memorial and began clearing out the super mutants. But I remembered all the ghouls that I'd have to fight later on. I want to conserve ammo, so I decided to do the 10-penny tower quest to get the ghoul mask. I've covered this quest plenty on my channel, so I won't bore you once more. Long story short, the mask makes feral ghouls passive to me. Before going back to Jefferson, I decided it was time to find Dad. So I began traveling to Smith & Casey's garage, and my textures began glitching, and for some reason Victoria Watts tracked me down to the middle of the desert. I sped through Tranquility Lane. Again, being a simulation, I don't count killing anyone here to go against the challenge. I saved Daddy Dearest and used him to help weaken a super mutant behemoth. We don't kill it just yet, but we'll come back to it later. For some reason, the doors aren't where they're supposed to be, but you know, let's ignore that. I started clearing the memorial again, this time with Chinese stealth armor. everything was going smoothly. But then I started listening to my chat while I was streaming, and they convinced me to go back to New Vegas and get the Rat Slayer, a special variant of the Varmint Rifle. Little side note, if you feel this invalidates the challenge, that's more than fine. I cleared out Nipton, galloped a bit, and nabbed a Rat Slayer. I tested it out in Rivet City's marketplace, and yeah, this thing slaps. I like it. I witnessed my father's death, escorted the eggheads through the tunnels, and let my ghoul companions partake in natural selection, leaving only Madison Lee, and we made it to the Citadel. The Brotherhood of Steel filled me in on the whole Gex situation. I ventured into Paradise Falls and began my assault on the slave trade. The Rat Slayer mixed with the Chinese stealth armor was honestly just an amazing feeling. It's a shame New Vegas doesn't have working stealth armor in the base game. After freeing the children, I tied up some loose ends with the Behemoth. Returning to Little Lamplight, I managed to get lost for a little bit, but I eventually found my way to the vault. Fighting a vault full of super mutants wasn't something I was particularly looking forward to, so I opted for the Joestar family technique and started running. After traversing a mob of mutants, I made my way to Fox. I wouldn't be having him get me the Gek, but instead he would be my distraction while I mad dashed and picked it up myself. I then got captured by the Enclave as God intended, but having plot armor, I escaped and convinced the president to blow himself up. I was a little sad not seeing Fox outside shooting his Gatling laser. My heart felt empty, missing my big man. But now it's not the time to be depressed. That's scheduled for 6:30. I returned to the Brotherhood of Self-Righteous Jackasses. I took a few of their lives to keep things balanced in the universe, and then I met Optimus Prime, and we began our final assault on the Enclave. This went about the same way as any other playthrough. No fun glitches happened this time around. Inside the memorial, we engaged with the Enclave. During the initial firefight, I thought about how I was going to JFK the Colonel, and that's exactly what I did. Surprisingly, his subordinates didn't seem to care. Employers take note. This is why giving benefits and time off from work is important. Ultimately, I did take them out anyways though. I gave Sarah Lyons the code because, let's be real, I've done all the legwork so far. It's time for the Brotherhood to contribute, and with that, I beat Fallout 3 with the Varmint Rifle from New Vegas.